Grima Wormtongue is one of the most iconic villains in The Lord of the Rings, in no short part because of his wonderful depiction in the Peter Jackson movies. In this video I want to talk about an interesting theory that Grima might have secretly been a Dunlending, or at least have some in his family. So today on Tales of the Eldar we'll take a look at this theory and see how plausible it is. As everyone knows, Grima was the advisor of King Theoden of Rohan. Around 1340 of the Third Age, Saruman ensnared him and convinced him to betray his king by promising to Grima the hand of Eowyn. Over the following 5 years, Grima would not only inform Saruman about the secret plans of the Rohirrim, but would also weaken Theoden by administering subtle poison. Eventually, his treachery was discovered when Gandalf the White healed Theoden and he himself was banished from Rohan. After this, he would continue to serve Saruman until the Scouring of the Shire, when after many months of abuse and mistreatment, Grima turned against his master and killed him, only to be later killed himself. Like I said, Grima was the king's advisor, so he must have been a Rohirrim, right? After all, why would Theoden have taken one of the Dunlendings, sworn enemies of Rohan, as his chief counselor? Well, it actually has something to do with Grima's past and some interesting history about the Dunlendings. Nowhere in the text is it stated that Grima was a Rohirrim, and he doesn't even look like one. He was a short man with dark hair and pale skin. In contrast, the Rohirrim were mostly quite tall and had blonde hair and fair skin. Grima's past is also shrouded in mystery. We only know that he was the son of a man called Galamon, but that's it. We don't know when he was born or where he exactly came from before becoming an advisor. The thing that makes all of this even more interesting is that we are given the background for all the other important individuals in Rohan. Eomer and Eowyn come from Aldburg, Erkenbrand and Grimbold from the Westfold, and Elfhelm from the lands around Edoras. But Grima is an outlier. What a coincidence that the only important person, whose past isn't known, turns out to be a traitor. Okay, so there is some evidence for Grima not being from Rohan, but what does it have to do with the Dunlendings? Prior to 2510, many Dunlendings lived in the western parts of Rohan, or Kalenarthron as it was known at that time, before the Rohirrim drove them out. They later returned, seeking vengeance, and briefly managed to conquer the kingdom, something that we will see in the War of the Rohirrim animated movie. However, the Dunlendings were not driven from all of the kingdom's regions. The West March, Rohan's most western part, between the rivers Eisen and Adorn, was never truly free from Dunlending influence, and many would intermingle with the Rohirrim there. As such, the loyalty of those men to the king was always dubious, and during the War of the Ring, the West March actually sided with Saruman, as those people had become more Dunlendish than Rohirrim. Who else betrayed Rohan and joined Saruman, had a past shrouded in mystery, and looked more like a Dunlending than a Rohirrim? Right, Grima. So what I'm actually suggesting is that Grima was a Dunlending, fully or partially, who came from the West March. Even if you disagree with this theory, you can't deny that this is one of the better ones out there, and quite plausible. But let me know what you think in the comments.